19 organ systems studied, 10,000 plus cellular and molecular alterations observed between them, in a good way, might I add. I'll just say, there is a very short list of potential interventions that could be responsible for something like this. Huh? No, not Ozempic. Come on, production team. Trying to pump the crowd up. Sorry. The reality is, you'll likely love and hate this one equally. But either way, you gotta know the power that it wields. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftandbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and longevity and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic way. Today we return to the magical realm of badonkadonking, but this time with some cool new data providing a deeper glimpse into why doing it, and doing it often,
Oh, behave.
thanks Austin, is a really good idea. That is, if you have a vested interest in your mojo or vitality over time, aka that longevity thing we love to talk about around these parts. And I know, I sound like a broken record with exercise at this point, but don't blame me. Blame the science. Be skeptical of it, but blame it too. Because as we know, and as you've heard me rant about many times before, the list of noted changes induced by this ironically strenuous activity is second to none on the Longevity Handbook. That is, it would be if such handbook existed. And I can almost guarantee you that you do not know all of the effects that 20 to 30 strategic minutes can produce. Mainly because no one actually does. But we're learning more and more each day. And although it's safe to say that there is no "that was easy" button when it comes to creating an optimal internal cellular and metabolic state that promotes both present-day health and long-term vitality, the closest thing to that seems like it may very well be daily, consistent exercise. Yeah. Because it is proving to be a straight-up longevity-boosting beast of an intervention. And here's just a little tidbit on why. It builds and preserves muscle mass, offsetting sarcopenia, or the natural deterioration of said muscle as we age, which is a huge driver of health issues as we accrue chronological years. It keeps us mobile and flexible, lubricating joints and strengthening connective tissue, which are two overlooked but critical components of short-term health and long-term longevity. It also happens to be the best mood-boosting prescription that there is, releasing natural endorphins, opioids, and cannabinoids which boost said mood, reduce anxiety, decrease stress, and alleviate pain. Oh, and if you want to be more energy efficient, look no further, as it is quite literally the best thing we can do to preserve the health of our cellular energy-producing organelles, mitochondria, boosting their efficiency, stimulating the creation of new healthy ones while cleaning up the weak, damaged, leaky via a process called mitophagy. And while we're on the topic of important stuff, our heart and broader cardiovascular system happen to be exercise groupies, as it has been displayed over and over again to improve VO2 max, a marker of cardio efficiency, dilate blood vessels, improve blood flow, and reduce overall stress. And speaking of groupies, cancer happens to be the opposite of one, as it has been shown to create an internal biochemical environment that stifles its growth and proliferation, with some very interesting studies to date displaying this in colon cancer cells. Moving back to everyone's favorite 5-pound mushy membrane, it has been shown to activate neurons in the hippocampus, the learning and memory region of the brain, act as a potent stimulator for brain-derived neurotrophic factor and other brain growth factors, which promote new neuronal pathways to be created, priming the brain for learning, and potentially even stimulate adult neurogenesis, or the creation of new adult neurons, something that we humans didn't even think was possible. And I know what you're thinking. Holy. And I've got one response for you. there's more. It reduces the risk of longevity liability numero uno, chronic inflammation, by stimulating an anti-inflammatory response for several hours throughout the body after each bout, while making our cells more glucose tolerant, improving insulin sensitivity, and preventing metabolic dysfunction, like the major modern problem of type 2 diabetes. And we cannot forget its master detox skills. First, by stimulating our natural detoxification system, the lymphatic system, which is heavily reliant on movement, in parallel upregulating that secretion of sweat. And finally, by being one of the most potent stimulators of our cellular recycling program, autophagy, clearing out the weak, damaged, problematic components of our cells. Damn is right. Now, all of this is great, but it comes with one key, very, very important stipulation. None of this happens unless you do it. And when you choose not to, succumbing to the modern day societal norm of being ultra sedentary, I swear, I exercise today. The opposite of a badonka-donking lifestyle, the lifestyle which, might I add, has been programmed in our biological wiring over millions of years of evolution. Yeah, check out this video here. The associations are pretty eye-opening. And to provide a little example of this, one recent study in children displayed that high levels of sedentary behavior and physical inactivity in childhood strain the heart and increase cardiac workload in adolescence, or those teenage to early 20 years. And a high cardiac workload is a predictor of heart problems and heart disease later in life. Not a setup for vitality, if you ask me. And just to drive this point home and deliver on the promised 19 organs, 10,000 markers intro, I haven't forgot. There is a new, hot off the scientific street study displaying how very far-reaching exercise is throughout an organism's body. This time in our cheese-loving compadres, rats, because the level of detail and analysis is just straight up not doable at this point with humans. Let's take a look. A global research team led out of Harvard and MIT sought to see how endurance exercise training affects the molecular activity of more than 19 tissue types throughout the body, and how these changes differed over time from various endurance protocols. Now, the thing that really makes a study like this stand out from all the others is the pure breadth of biological samples analyzed. This ranged from the heart, brain, liver, lymph, lungs, adrenals, muscle, fat, blood, and many more. Assessing during and after the rodents finished either 1, 2, 4, or 8 weeks of endurance training. And to make sure there was a control group to baseline these changes from the mouse wheel extravaganza, it is what it is, sex match sedentary, untrained rats were there to step in without obviously, taking many steps. Because, okay, bad joke. Moving on. All in all, the team assessed nearly 10,000 assays, making around 15 million measurements across the 300 plus rats. So quite a bit, and reinforcing one of the several reasons that this type of analysis in humans is very difficult to impossible. So, what'd they find? Well, long story short, there were a lot of changes, as they observed first and foremost that basically every single tissue that they were looking at seemed to have exercise-induced alterations. We're talking thousands of molecular changes across the tissues. And as you can imagine, there is and was a lot of nuance. Some of these changes were tissue and organ dependent, while others had a broader full body effect. The length of exercise and the sex of the organism also played a rather interesting role. For example, the most extreme changes were observed in the adrenal glands, which produce hormones that regulate many important bodily processes, including immunity, metabolism, and blood pressure. Then, in terms of timing, most immune signaling molecules in females showed changes after 1 to 2 weeks of training, whereas those same molecules in males did not show a significant change until 4 to 8 weeks. And when they looked at common, wide-ranging effects, researchers found that heat shock proteins, which are produced by cells in response to stress and play a key role in fixing misfolded proteins and thus keep the cell operating efficiently, were upregulated in the same ways across many tissues as a function of exercise. Pretty damn interesting. Finally, a cool example of a tissue-specific surprise was in the liver, where the researchers observed a unique increase in the acetylation of mitochondrial proteins, a process which ultimately upregulates the breakdown and utilization of fat, making the team hypothesize that this may be one of the reasons why exercise is such a great tool to fend off and even reverse fatty liver disease. Now, these were just a few of the many changes and alterations that researchers observed. And as always, the full paper and all of the research that we ever reference will be in the show notes below. All in all, research like this continues to reinforce why we should all be interested in that badonkadonking thing. And although this study was in rodents and not humans, it certainly helps share the pure scale of an impact that exercise has on smaller mammals. And when you have a better understanding of the potential benefits of something, it helps in getting over the psychological hump to actually do it, and do it consistently. And at the very least, giving you an somewhat intriguing reason to get on the rat wheel today, if you haven't already. Oh, I can tell you have. And if you need some more help, we have a number of videos, all of which will be linked in the show notes, walking through several ways to either get started or step up your movement protocol to the next level. Because who wouldn't want to be a happier, more relaxed, cognitively proficient, less stressed, libido activated, better sleeping, looking cooler, naked version of themselves day in and day out? 20 to 30 strategic minutes a day and you'll have your mojo back before you know it. Take us out, Austin.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
What he said.